Hello, I'm deep in the reeds, and today I'm reviewing my Lesbian Experience with Loneliness by Nagata Kabi. Lesbian Experience was originally posted online as a webcomic on the website Pixiv, which is basically like a Japanese DeviantArt, and it was picked up for publication in 2016. And the interesting thing is that Kabi was so determined to put her best foot forward that she actually went back and restructured the entire comic and redid all of the art before it ended up getting into print. This one-shot memoir manga was really successful, and it ended up actually winning 2 awards for Best Manga in 2018. It follows a woman named Kabi, who is 30 years old, unemployed, friendless, and living with her parents. She's basically struggling with her identity, her sexuality, her sense of belonging and independence, all these things, all while trying to become an accomplished artist. Her art style is deceptively simple, but at the same time it has this ability to just be absolutely heartbreaking. The lines are shakily drawn, and her only tools are a pen and a pink marker, but I think it works really well to sell the emotion that she's trying to convey. In terms of expressing Kabi's vulnerability, I don't think that she could have used any other style than the one that she does use. It makes her instantly relatable too. She's not trying to put on airs or impress with her fancy art or anything. There's no pretension. It's just the simple truth of who she really is. And sometimes you can see the leftover sketch lines hiding under the pen, which she missed when erasing, or places where her markers go outside the lines, and I actually really like that. I think it connects the reader to the loving hand that made the work. And sure, Kabi has the ability to make work that's a lot more flashy, but the style of her comic is like the visual equivalent of a stream of consciousness, and it works really well for me. I love the way she visualizes anxiety through different marks, or uses her drawings to express abstract ideas. And much like the art style, the story in Lesbian Experience reads a lot. It's fairly loosely structured. It reads a lot like a series of personal diary entries as opposed to a tightly structured story. Although there is still a very strong sense of trajectory and a good character arc. And I can't remember the last time I felt so strongly for a character that I wanted to literally reach through the pages to comfort them. Some people might not find the specifics of her personal journey that relatable. I found them so relatable that it felt like Kabi was inside my head at times. Like, I'm an artist myself, and Kabi's talking about how the only thing that brings her any hint of joy is doing art. But she, of course, understands how hard it is to be a professional artist, yet on the other hand, there's this work culture that she realizes will never bring her personal fulfillment. And that's a really serious struggle. I totally understand it. I laughed with her, I cried with her, I understood her social anxieties, and I cheered for her when she made these small yet significant personal victories. And although the book deals with some very heavy topics, I find that Kabi has this really good sense of humor that's really punchy, that sort of brings you through all the tough moments. I love the way that she occasionally pokes fun at her own repressed sexuality throughout the book. And I now know what a yaoi hole is, and that's invaluable information. And then you get to the end of the story, and it's one of the most powerful scenes I've read in manga. It's this huge emotional cocktail where it's at the same time funny and charming and sad and cathartic and heartbreaking. And it's an incredible depiction of what social anxiety can really be like. And in addition to this book being a great representation of mental illness, I also think it's a really great representation of sexuality. A lot of Japanese manga will hyper-romanticize when it's dealing with LGBT stuff. Everybody's impossibly innocent, these flawless characters, they're all overly cutesy or whatever. And Kabi takes the alternate approach to that, where she's very frank and forthcoming. She's very much more self-aware. And I think that her story will resonate more with LGBT audiences than the typical yuri or yaoi. And in a lot of ways, this is actually kind of like an anti-yuri. And I think Kabi is very conscious of this. Just look at the cover, for example. So at a first glance, this doesn't seem like too special a cover. It's two women in a very demure pose. It's not unusual for a Yuri cover to be like that. But then you sort of see that they're in a very similar pose to each other. It's almost as if Nagata Kabi is looking at a reflection of herself, except the foreground figure seems more confident and kept together. Maybe she's trying to become this other person, or maybe she's confronting her own reflection, confronting herself so that she's able to improve or become a better person. Anyway, that's kind of an aside, but that's the sort of thing I always end up thinking when I look at this cover. Throughout the manga, Kabi criticizes herself for being unable to open up to people. But I think the existence of the manga itself is proof that she is able to open herself up through the medium of her art. And I love that the manga itself is part of her story. Like, it's proof that she's overcome a lot of those personal barriers. She's trusted herself enough to put out a story about her life. And there's even a meta chapter where she talks about her comic blowing up on the internet in this. So the story almost overlaps with itself, and I think that's a really unique and fresh idea. And it's also really encouraging from an artistic perspective, because this whole book is about overcoming personal barriers. So here's this artist who has a very unpolished and untechnical style, who posted their work to a niche corner of the internet, and it blew up. She got published, she won awards, she's done other manga since this, and if that's what you have to do, like putting your work out there, even if it means risking rejection or humiliation, you should at least try. Like, you owe it to yourself to try. And I think that that's one of the key takeaways from this manga that really is very resonant with me. And I think whether or not you're a lonely lesbian, my lesbian experience with loneliness will resonate with many people who pick it up. I normally give this a 7 or 8, but because of the way that it resonated with me personally, and the fact that I keep coming back to it, I can't help but give it a 9 out of 10. Like, I highly recommend this. Even if you're not into manga, or you don't like the tropes or the subject matter in most manga and anime, I think this is a really good place to start. It's very unique in the genre and in the medium. Just a little addendum before I wrap up here. I have read Nagata Kabi's follow-up works, which are my Solo Exchange Diary and my Alcoholic Escape from Reality. They're both decent. I wouldn't say they're nearly as strong as this one, which works excellent as a standalone manga. They're a lot looser in composition, and I would say they're more casual reads, so only seek them out if you've read this and you're like particularly taken with it. But yeah, so that's my review. Hope you enjoyed. You can subscribe for more. I'll post more reviews eventually, and yeah. See you later. See you later. Bye. Okay, I'm done.